Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to this complete army video for the Blood Angels. So I've been working on a new list for them and trying to get them adapted and shifted over to 9th edition. So the new points values, taking into account 9th edition, the way it plays is different to 8th edition for sure. So I've created a Blood Angels list here that's ready for war. So the point of this video is to go through the list in detail. I'll introduce all of the units, gradually build the army up, and at the end of the video we'll zoom out and you can see the entire footprint of the army, just to give you an idea of how the whole thing looks. So I'll call out all of the points values for you, talk about the reasons why I'm taking all the different units, the whole army philosophy and the battle plan of how I intend to use them during games. So I hope to cover everything in this video. So you're free to take elements of this list. You can copy the list entirely and try it out for yourself, or you can take elements that you think will work. If you want to suggest any changes, units to drop, units to add in, changing around warlord traits and all those kind of different things, or even down to the smallest of details, leave it in the comment section below. I always read through the comments and then it can help others who are watching the video, perhaps you're new to collecting Blood Angels or don't have too much experience with them. Then check out the comments and see what other experienced Blood Angel players are saying. So, as with all the different Space Marine chapters that I have, I try and collect units that are unique to that chapter, just to really try and enhance the theme. So my Space Wolves, for example, a lot of the Space Wolves unique units, I try to incorporate them into my army, and the same for the Blood Angels as well. I try and take on some of their unique units that can only be found in that Space Marines chapter. So the theme for the Blood Angels, if you look at any of their artwork, I always try and do it as competitive a list as possible within sort of the fluff and the narrative, so it's a good representation, and model wise as well, trying to, so you can stand back, look at it and say, yeah, that's a good representation of the Blood Angels. But whenever you see the artwork with them, they're always happy to get stuck in up close against the enemy, and sometimes Blood Angels are up against some of the most horrific of foes. So you've got them fighting against Tyranids here, getting stuck in very close against them. So close combat is a big theme with them. Let's see if we can find a bit more artwork here. Or even some of the miniature setups here, often fighting against Chaos. Again, up close, Tyranids again. So they're taking on Necrons here as well, but this is not a long range exchange, this is close. So what I want with the Blood Angels is an army that's going to get in close, happy to fight in close combat, but also realising you need decent firepower support as well. So firepower is crucial, and then the ability to strike hard and strike fast in close combat. I guess it's a winning combination for any army, but Blood Angels need that, and if you can successfully do it, then that's a good representation, I think, of what the Blood Angels are all about. One of those Space Marine chapters, similar to the Space Wolves, that are quite happy to get into close combat a lot more readily than, say, Imperial Fists and Ultramarines, more mechanized gun line, tactical firepower. That's the kind of emphasis with them. Of course there's close combat units, but that's more the kind of emphasis with the chapters like the Imperial Fists and Ultramarines. But Blood Angels and Space Wolves, yes, firepower, but a bigger emphasis and more geared up for close combat. So hopefully you'll see that with this list. You'll see more of a close combat kind of element for sure. Then for 9th edition, played a good number of games of 9th edition now, and it seems that the key is board control and controlling objectives, and that's taking objectives and holding them, and it's from the very earliest stages of the game. So armies that are quite quick do well, they move out onto objectives, and you need some kind of resilience as well to be able to take an objective and hold it, because the opponent's going to be trying to do the same thing. So Blood Angels, the list needs to have units that can camp out on objectives, need to be able to move swiftly and take objectives, and then fight and hold them during the game. It seems to be the key to victory. Whenever I've done well in games of 9th edition, which has been a couple of times so far, it's whenever I've been able to take and hold objectives and dominate the battlefield. So any list that you put together, that needs to be something to consider for sure. But the idea of that with the Blood Angels, well, my close combat quick units hopefully can clear objectives, and then have other units that can move out and sit on top and hold those objectives. So with that in mind, bear that in mind, because it's the way you need to sort of structure your army now. And it's the days of the tightly packed bubble and gun line, that's severely limited now, because you've got to spread out for 9th edition and control multiple parts of the battlefield. So you almost need sort of micro armies that can small task forces within your main army that can shift off by themselves and go and take objectives and so on. So there's more of a spread now, I've noticed, in 9th edition as well. So with all that in mind, we'll start to build up the list here. I think I'll go through logically and in order. Just to build this up, we'll just move that out of the way for a moment. There's some great new stratagems in there for the Blood of Baal Psychic Awakening. If you don't have that, then it's well worth getting the rules to really help out and enhance your Blood Angels army. From the previous list, I have dropped some units and added some new units in. Some units that have been brought back from retirement as well. They've been brought out of storage, and great to see them back in action again. So there's some Primaries in here as well. Wanted to inject a little bit just to really help the resilience of the army, so glad to have some Primaries elements in this list as well. You are rewarded with Blood Angels. I'll try and cover all the tactics as much as I can. You are rewarded with Blood Angels for getting stuck into close combat. You're on +1 to your wound rolls for charging in, or if you are charged, so that's huge. Your infantry wounding other infantry on 4s becomes 3s, or 3+ to wound becomes 2+ to wound. It's really big, so there is a big incentive. And in the assault phase, I think it's 6s pop extra attacks when assault doctrine is active, so there's a bonus there as well for getting stuck into close combat also. So let's see, the Sanguinor, almost put the Sanguinor in. Do rate that unit, but not quite. Brother Kabulo's on my previous list has been dropped. Sanguinary Priest has been dropped as well from my previous list. So the first coming up here is the Librarian Dragnol, and he is in. So one of the unique units for the Blood Angels. Really love this unit, absolutely crazy, this one, as we'll cover in just a moment. So Librarian Dragnol here, HQ choice. He is 120 points now for chapter approved 2020. It's the Halberd, just here is 0 points. Give him a Stormbolter just underneath the fist, and the Furioso Fist is, I think it's a Furioso Fist or a Dragnol close combat weapon. It is a Furioso Fist, yeah, it's an extra 20 points. So you're looking at 143 points here for this model, but the damage output from him is, I think, really good and well worth the choice. So the structure of the army as well, just cover that at this point. So the structure is you get 12 command points. This is a 2000 points list. I've gone for a battalion. The Warlord is within that battalion, so it's -3 command points, then +3, so it cancels it out, so you're back up to 12 command points. I'm taking an extra Warlord trait, and then I'm going to use a stratagem called Death Visions of Sanguinius as well, which I'll explain a bit later on, but they're both 1 command point each, so I've dropped down to 10. 10's a really healthy amount, I think, great number of command points, and then realistically that's 15, because you're going to be adding an extra 1 at the start of each command phase for the 5 turns of the game. So 10 command points, potentially 15 in total during the battle, which I think is more than enough. That's plenty to have some decent, to make use of some very decent stratagems. So Librarian Dragnol, his basic stat line is okay, but there's some amazing ways to enhance it. So movement 6 is quite slow, but that can be compensated for weapon skill of 2+, which is excellent. That's really good. Usual stat line for a Dragnol, just 3 attacks. On the charge, 4 attacks. That by itself, yes, okay, it's not that great. And a 3+ armor save. The Force Halberd, they got the Fist, which is ×2 strength, even -3 and 3 damage. There's no minus to hit rolls, so it's really good. But the Force Halberd is my preferred weapon. It's +4 strength, so fighting at strength 10, but slightly less in strength than the Furioso Fist. But it's going to be 3s to wound anything that's out there, unless there's a toughness 10 target. And then remember, for Blood Angels, what makes it up, or what makes up for that, is your +1 to the wound rolls when you charge, or if you are charged, or if you perform heroic intervention. So that's going to give you a 2+ to wound. So that's slightly less strength than the Furioso Fist. Isn't too much of a problem. So strength 10. Great thing here, AP -4. So you're going to bypass the armor. So your average vehicle 3+ armor save can be allowed no save at all unless they have an invuln save. So you're going to cut straight through the armor and its damage. Flat 3, which is great, nice and reliable damage coming through. With 3 or 4 attacks, it's okay, but you're not going to do too much damage with that. So that can be boosted. There's Psychic Coolers, Explodes, and Smoke Launchers. You can manifest 2 Psychic Powers and deny 1. So you've got a bit of Psychic presence in the army, which is great. The ability to deny enemy Psychic Powers, very useful. And he can manifest 2 Psychic Powers as well. I go for 2 powers here, which are really important ones. I've stuck with these for a long time, and they work in great combination here. So, and remember, you can manifest 2, so you can manifest both of these in the same psychic phase. So first is the Quickening. Quickening has a warp charge value of 7. So it's about average to make that go off. If manifested, you can add 3 to advance and charge roll, so +3 inches to the charge. Amazing. And then you make for the Psyker and make an additional D3 attacks to them in the fight phase as well. So all of a sudden, that 3 or 4 attacks, you're adding an extra D3. And now you're starting to get a nice healthy amount of attacks coming through. So Quickening is excellent. And then you combine that with Wings of Sanguinius. So warp charge value of 5, so very likely this one's going to go off. If manifested, the Psyker can immediately move as if it were your movement phase, but his move characteristic is also increased to 12. So remember, it's your 6-inch move. You need to make sure you don't advance, and then you get the extra 12 inches on top of that, so all of a sudden you've got a Dragnol that's going 18 inches across the table. It gains the Fly keyword to the start of the next Psychic phase, and then in addition, whilst this power is in effect, you can reroll foul charge rolls as well. So now you've got rerolling foul charges, potential of 18-inch move, and then +3 inches to your charge move as well. So all of a sudden, just a 6-inch move Dragnol now has 6 and 12, and then 2d6 +3 rerollable charge. So it's absolutely game changer for him. If those kind of abilities weren't available, then the Dragnol would just be, I don't think he would be in the list, to be honest, just because it's slow. And you need speed, you need to be able to deliver units across the board, get into position quickly. Especially now with 9th edition, you've got 5 turns, you're not going to get turn 6, turn 7. So there's even less opportunities for units that need to act quite quickly now in 9th edition to have any impact on the game. So you can't really hold them off for 3 turns, 4 turns, then commit them to the fight, hoping to make a difference in turn 5, 6 and 7, because the game ends at turn 5. So you need to be able to get into position quickly. So there's that, and then you can further enhance him with stratagems. Talk a little bit about those now. So yeah, you can play, it's 2-stick in close combat. If you want to make it even more reliable, I think you can play Wisdom of the Ancients if you find yourself away from a captain, for example, no rerolls. Because getting a load of 1s to hit would be a disaster. To select Blood Angels Dragnol from your army to the end of that phase, you can reroll hit rolls Blood Angels units within 6 inches of that Dragnol. I believe is included in that bubble as well, so 2s to hit rerolling 1s. That can be very helpful. And then just the usual stratagems here. Yeah, Honour the Chapter and not Honour the Chapter, only on death does duty end. So you can send him into close combat, and even if he's up against perhaps a target that's even better than him, 2 command points. Blood Angel's character from your army is slain. That model summons the strength 1 final attack and can immediately either shoot as if it were the shooting phase or fight as if it were the fight phase. You charge him with tons of attacks, he half kills or almost destroys the target. Then he's slain in return. You can then go for this one and fight a second time before being removed from the battlefield. So you can use him as a bit of a kamikaze style unit. Send him in against a much tougher target. And then cause trouble. And if he's slain, fight again. So that seems to be a good combination. So he's not my warlord, but I do take the second warlord trait on him. This is sort of a new idea with this guy. Seeing as he is often thrown in against really tough targets, I give him Artisan of War. This is +1 to the damage characteristic of one weapon carried by your warlord. This cannot be a relic of Baal, so I give that to the Force Halberd. So now that Halberd is damage 4, which is ridiculous. 3 successful wounds against most vehicles will blow the vehicle up, and he's got a potential of with D3 and D3, 6, perhaps 11 attacks or more if Assault Doctrine is active. So you could take out a couple of vehicles in one go. So imagine on 2s to hit, rerolling 1s, 2s to wound, AP -4, 4 damage. Now all of a sudden you've got a 143 point model that can kick out a crazy amount of damage. You could bring down an Imperial Knight potentially. So that's why the Blood Angel's Dragnol is in, and it's a themed unit. You can't get Librarian Dragnols for the other Space Marine chapters, so nice Blood Angels themed unit, and a great plastic kit that Games Workshop have produced. So yeah, it's that kit. It's a triple option. You got the Death Company Dragnol in that kit. That's the loadout you can go for. The Librarian Dragnol, and also the Furioso Dragnol. That's all in the one kit. So some great options available from that one set. So Librarian Dragnol's in, and sometimes you'll see him in games. He's just thrown in, and knowing that he's probably going to die, but he goes out on like a suicide mission, but one that's well timed and a tactical one that's needed, not to be thrown away recklessly. I'd rather keep him alive. But if it's required and if it's needed and there's a target that needs to be brought down, I usually try and send him in to try and take a target down. That's the term. He can punch way above his weight, so you can send him in against a much more superior target, and then he can potentially deal with them very well. So Librarian Dragnol is in. So no one else from here. There's plenty of HQ choices. The Chaplain's out, he's not in the list. Remember, with 9th edition and the new points values, armies have shrunk slightly, so I've had to drop some units. I dropped a few units that weren't doing too well, and other units that almost made it in, but like Brother Kabulo, I haven't been able to include just for the points here. But I have taken Captain. So Captain Lazarus Stormhammer here, as he's become known. If you hunt around on the channel, there are some videos about how to put this guy together. Basically, it's an Age of Sigmar Prosecutors kit. I bought the wings separately on eBay and combined that with a Sanguinary Guard jump pack. Just glued them, cut and glued them together, and then Prosecutor body, Prosecutor legs and arms and shoulder pads, but the torso, the main part of the body here, is Blood Angel's plastic Death Company here, Blood Angel's head, Terminator Sergeant Stormshield, and then a Thunderhammer as well, just glued on. It's all plastic parts, they cut and glued quite nicely, and just all painted up in gold here to represent the Smash Captain. So that's the idea of him. There is a video on the channel. There is a search option on my channel, and you can maybe search for Smash Captain, and then the videos will come up. Made them a few years ago about how I put this unique model together. Yeah, and worked really well. I really like the way he's come out. So there he is. Nice height as well. These plumes that you see coming down, that's all part of the Prosecutor set. So nicely, a good representation, I think, of a captain with a jump pack. So he goes just there. So stat lines for a captain, again, it's similar to the Librarian Dragnol. It's quite flat, it's a bit mediocre, not that great. So we're going to try and enhance it as much as we can. So 6-inch move, 2 up weapon skill and ballistic skill, strength 4, toughness 4, 5 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9 and 3 up saves. 4 attacks, that's okay. But we'll try and enhance that as well as much as we can. So first of all, take the jump pack. So again, you're adding a bit of speed to the army. So a captain on foot, it's alright for a gun line, but if you've got a captain that needs to move around the battlefield and he's geared up for close combat, speed is crucial. Again, with the limited time in a game and the ability to be able to relocate and move around as quick as possible, so jump pack's a great idea. Points cost for that is 105 now for a captain with a jump pack. I'll take the Thunderhammer for a character, which is 40 points, and then the Storm Shield for a character is 10 points. Taking the Storm Shield, comes with 4+ invuln save anyway for Iron Halo, but I'll take the Storm Shield. For now, it's a 3+ armor save, 3+ invuln save, because it's another unit I hope to send into close combat. Not as much of a suicide unit, this one. I want him to be able to go into close combat and prevail and win and survive, because he's going to be the Warlord, and he has the rights of battle, the reroll hit rolls of 1 for any Blood Angels units within 6, and that's going to help them in the shooting phase and in close combat. So I want him to stay alive and to grant that bonus for as long as possible. So any close combat he gets stuck into, it's going to be one that's calculated where he should win and survive, and if it's against a tougher target or a target that's going to strike back hard, he's got the 3+ invuln save from the Storm Shield. So I stack a few things up to help him out. Remember, 4 attacks, 5 attacks on the charge, it's okay. Thunderhammer has -1 to hit rolls, so he's going to be on 2s to hit, 3s to hit, rerolling 1s, still quite reliable. But I will just refer to a few stratagems just whilst I remember. Here, just some extra ones that you can use. If he does die, you've got the Only Indefinite's Duty End, as we talked about for the Dreadnought, but then he does get access to Honour the Chapter. Uses stratagem 3 command points, uses stratagem at the end of any fight phase, select a Blood Angels infantry or biker unit, so he falls within that category, and you can immediately fight for a second time. So, you know, it's attacking with Thunderhammer, nice lot of attacks, damage coming through, do that twice, which is really, really good. Red Rampage can apply to him. 1 command point is going to give you an extra D3 attacks, so 3 or 4 attacks can become 7 attacks, 5, 6, 7 attacks, which is really good as well. And then you can play other ones I go for here. Upon Wings of Fire, so uses the movement phase before moving a Blood Angels jump pack unit from your army, remove that unit from the battlefield, and then you just deep strike it back in somewhere else. So you've got an amazing relocation ability with him. Then you can also play Descent of Angels, 2 command points. Use this stratagem before making a charge roll of Blood Angels jump pack unit from your army that was set up on the battlefield earlier this turn. So if it does deep strike in, you've got the problem is that 9-inch charge range. You're then getting 3d6 for your charge distance instead of 2d6, and that is huge. And it's not 3d6 choosing the best, it's 3d6 in total, so that's a lot more reliable. I think if you command reroll it now, for 9th edition, you're rerolling all 3d6 dice, so that's useful enough. And then there's the one other I talked about, the Death Visions of Sanguinius. So you play this before the game begins, costs you 1 command point. Use the strategy in mustering your army. Select a Blood Angels captain, chaplain or lieutenant from your army. So, captain, this model gains the Death Company keyword and the Black Rage ability for the duration of the battles. Now he gets a 6+ Feel No Pain. He only has 5 wounds, so he's not that durable, so you're trying to compensate for that as much as possible. So 5 wounds, not that great. 6+ Feel No Pain, just a little bit of a chance of saving a couple of those wounds and trying to keep them alive for as long as possible. And then Black Rage on the charge, an extra attack as well, so really every attack possible that you can get really helps him out. Just really, you're not paying any extra points for the model, but you're just stacking up loads of abilities just to really make him that much better. So I think it's worth going for that. Then I've talked about stratagems. Then relics of warlord traits can help him out as well. I give him some difficult choices here, but I give him gift of foresight because artisan of war is an option. Give him a damage 4 thunderhammer, but gift of foresight is the one I take at the moment. Roll a d6 each time your warlord loses a wound, rerolling 1s. So now you feel no pain gets reroll 1s, and then on a 6 the wound is ignored. If your warlord has the black rage ability, which remember death visions are sanguinish, you've been given that. Then you ignore wounds on a 5+. So now he has a 5+, feel no pain, rerolling 1s, and that's a lot more reliable than just a flat 6+. So really now this 5 wound model realistically becomes 6, 7, 8 wound model if you take into account that he will be saving some of those wounds that come through. So that is helpful. Then for relics, tempting to go for the Hammer of Baal. It's a thunder hammer, but there's no minus to hit rolls, so that's a good option. But at the moment I stick with Angel's Wing. It's not quite as effective as it was, but jump pack model only, so he falls within that category. You can reroll foul charge rolls, so that's really crucial, so you don't need the command reroll if you take that. And your opponent cannot fire Overwatch. Now Overwatch is limited now, but there will be times in the game where your opponent's holding on to that stratagem ready to use Overwatch, and so he may be going into a target that the opponent really is ready to use Overwatch against him to try and stop him. Well, now you can block that with the Smash Captain, so still valuable with that. I'm tempted, it's difficult, tempted to go for Hammer of Baal as well. I just 3s to hit rerolling 1s. The amount of times you roll a couple of 2s, 2s to hit rerolling 1s is incredibly reliable. Tough choice, something to experiment with, but those two options. So you may well see a bit of experimentation with him, but that's the loadout then for the Smash Captain. 155 points in total for him. 105 plus 40 plus 10, 155 points. So in games you'll see him where I try and keep him alive for a while, to direct firepower to try and soften the opponent up, manoeuvre him into position. No real rush to send him on some kamikaze mission, but instead to hold him off, to make use of that reroll 1's bubble. You can go on guard duty for a while if the opponent strays too close to your firepower units, and then when the timing's right, he's happy to go in against all sorts of different targets, vehicles, monsters, enemy characters and so on, engage them in close combat. So we've got 2 HQs. I have taken a third one, and it's just a humble lieutenant. Again, taking the prosecutor wings on this one here, a spare sanguinary guard model, painted the armour red, just to not make him look like a sanguinary guardsman, to make him separate from them. Gave him a golden arm here, this power fist, inferno pistol, and then just raised him up on a rock here just to make him that much higher, like so. So he is in, and he can just sidekick with Lazarus Stormhammer. Lieutenant Abraham is his name. So it gives you the option here, any model may take a jump pack, so you're paying a few extra points for that, but I think it's worth it. It's got 3 wounds, or 4 wounds, got 3 attacks. But the main reason for taking him, I've equipped him so that he can fight if he needs to, but it's not preferable. I'd rather just keep him alive the entire game. It's got a power fist, which can do enough damage, and I've given him an Infernos pistol as well, so you can lend a bit of support to the other characters or other units. But I know that the opponent's gonna, if they get a chance, they'll turn on him and kill him. He's got no invuln save, 3 up armour, only 4 wounds, so I'd tend to be a lot more careful with him. The main reason for taking the lieutenant is tactical precision. You can reroll wound rolls of 1 for Blood Angels units within 6 inches of the lieutenant. So that's for firepower and for close combat. So it helps out my heavy guns, and then in close combat as well it can help out trying to wound the enemy as well. But he's much more useful when he's alive. I guess that's with any unit. But trying to keep him alive on the battlefield for as long as possible, and if possible the entire game, and only getting into trouble if absolutely necessary. Points values for him, he's 90 points with the jump pack, Power Fist is 10, and the Inferno Pistol, pretty good price really, 5 points for that, well worth just adding on. You can use it in close combat, you can use it before he charges in, you can use it without ever charging in, just flying up close, firing the pistol, and then just letting other units charge in. So I rate that pistol, it's nasty enough. And no extras being added to him, 105 points for the Lieutenant in total. But again, the ability to move around very quickly around the table with the jump pack. So 3 units that are nice and quick, 2 of them pack a very mean punch in close combat, and they also give buffs and bonuses to units that are nearby. So I think ideal HQ choices to use here. So alright, well, just the order that we have. Intercessors then next for my troops. So for a battalion you need 2 HQs minimum. I've taken 3. The captain here, lieutenant. So I've actually taken 5 troops choices here. I don't have to, only need 3, but I've taken 5. So these Intercessor Squads, I have structured them here. Blue knee pads, black knee pads, and then the yellow and black of these ones. So we'll just maybe put them together like this. There's a grenade launcher in each squad. That's the blue, black, that one there, and the sergeants I've done with the inverted shoulder pads, so red trim, black in the middle. For those, it's blue, yellow, blue, and there's the other ones. They really bulk the army out nicely. They're fantastic models. Games Workshop have done an amazing job of all of their Primaries units. This one is blue squad. It's a sergeant. And then blue squad just there, like so. So 3 units of 5. They bulk the army out, some nice resilience. Now obviously a bit slower, but their job, I don't need them jumping around the table really quickly. They're just there to provide some solid troops choices, to lay down some anti-infantry firepower with their bolt rifles, and to move out, sit on top of objectives, or hold in the centre and just provide some firepower as it's needed. So I've got these close combat type units moving around the board, but their role is different. Theirs is there for board control and for holding ground and providing some supporting firepower. So Intercessors, I know Marine, everything's changing now. Marines apparently going to go up to 2 wounds in the near future, and there's some other improvements for them, sort of your classic or firstborn Marines. So I don't know what's going to but for now I'm going to stick with the Intercessors here. 2 wounds a time, which is, it really is solid. So you've got 10 wounds per squad the opponent needs to work through. Nice lot of attacks, 2 attacks base, 3 attacks on the sergeant. Extra attack space means on the charger if they are charged, so really good. And you can play veteran intercessors on them, stratagem 1 command point each for each squad, giving them an extra attack as well. Which can surprise the opponent sometimes, just a 5-man squad coming out with 20-25 attacks. Really good. There's a grenade launcher in each squad. And they're providing their firepower at range 30, which is a nice range. If they sit still, they're going to get the rapid fire 2 at long range. Or getting the extra shot just with bolted discipline, so 2 shots a time. And if they are near the lieutenant and captain, there's the reroll ones to hit and the reroll ones to wound, potentially as well. But yeah, I see it now in 9th edition. You need a central force and then 2 flanking forces. Quite often in games, it's often central objectives on the flank, ones that are slightly wider on the battlefield, and so you need 3 elements to your army, and so 1, 2, 3 squads if they do need to head off in different directions. That is available. So Intercessors are in. Not too much else to say about them, just a solid sort of troops choices. I'll shift these out of the way. As I said at the start of the video, we'll zoom out a bit later on and you'll be able to see the entire army. There they are, but a good healthy representation of Primaries for this Blood Angels force. So let's tuck them in. So Scouts, I had 3 units, I've dropped 1 unit, so I've taken 2 units of 5. So just put onto the updated bases. So 3 squads of 5, and no upgrades at all for these, just bolters. Now he goes there, like so, and there, and there. I still really love the kit for the scouts. I think they're great. They look very, very cool. As I didn't like the original colour scheme here, which is sort of the creamy bone coloured overalls here for these. As I went for grey, I think it looks a lot better, a lot more serious looking. So they are in. 2 squads of 5, just armed with bolters. They can take concealed positions. When you set up this unit during deployment, you can set it up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches from the enemy deployment zone and enemy models. So early objective grabbing potential with these. So yeah, sort of forward operating units. You've got your main bulk, your gun line here, and then your units that can deploy further forward. So good tactical use for them. Cheap enough. They're 70 points a unit with no upgrades. Yeah, 14 points each. So what I've then gone for with these is to give them dedicated transports, and it's to welcome back, let's bring them up here, it's to welcome back the Razorbacks. I tried a Razorback out in a game. I quite liked how it went with the Razorback. Wasn't too keen on the twin heavy bolter firepower, so I'm not sure how I'm not sure people how they're going to react to this. I've seen it done by Blood Angels players. But I've taken the Razorback here, which has come out of retirement. I've kept it nicely in the box. There's no dust on these. I've looked after them. But I simply take the bow predator turret and then just put that on top, and that slots in. I've got myself the twin assault cannon option. I think this looks really cool, but this could be sacrilege here to some Adeptus Astartes people. I don't know. Leave your reaction in the comment section below. I think this is fine to do this. A sort of hybrid between a bow predator and a Razorback, just borrowing the turret here. But it's Blood Angels themed, so I think it's alright. But I'd be interested to see what people think. But I just think it looks so cool. Very, very cool. So there's that one. And then I've taken the second one as well. So now my Razorbacks look something like this. Just wasn't keen on the heavy bolt. I've heard that's changing as well. It's going to be damaged too in the future. But I like the idea of these twin assault cannons on top here. It's just the previous game, it was firing 6 shots a turn. It was okay, a little bit of damage coming through. It wasn't that great. But with the twin assault cannon, you're looking at 12 shots. And what's really done it for me bringing these back is there's no longer the -1 to the hit rolls when you move around. If you are caught out in close combat, you can still shoot into that close combat as well. So that's another big plus to think about as well. So Razorbacks are in. Just the way the points have worked out, haven't been able to take the Storm Bolter or the Hunter Killer Missile. Would love to have done so, but just simply don't have the points to do that. But the main emphasis was to get those twin assault cannons on the Predators, and so very happy to have been able to do that. So they're in. So now the Scouts have got dedicated transport vehicles and ones with decent firepower. One question I have, if you know what the answer is, if that is their dedicated transport and they're embarked inside, then can the Scouts still use concealed positions, and does the transport vehicle go with them, is the question that I have. I'm not sure on that one. So if you know the answer to that question, then by all means leave that in the comments section below. Either way, it doesn't really matter too much if they can or can't, but it would be useful if you're able to bring that transport vehicle and deploy it deeper up the table if needed. That's the idea. I've got a squad here. They're a bit slow, but I can deploy further forwards with them, and I can protect them inside the transport, manoeuvre them around with the transport. If I'm camping out on top of an objective and the opponent destroys the vehicle, the scout squad can disembark on the objective, and there's another unit for the opponent to try and get through to try and clear me off of the objective. So it's more effort, more difficult for the opponent to clear an objective entirely. So the two Razorbacks are in. Very Blood Angels themed. It does look, I like the look of that. but let's see what other people have to say with that one. So scouts are in, and the 2 Razorbacks. Razorbacks are and cheaper than Bow Predators. Bow Predators are 170 odd, 180 odd points, but for the Razorback, you're missing out on the 2 heavy bolters, but you're still getting the twin assault cannons. So you're getting 80 points and 40 points for the twin assault cannon, 120 points. Very cheap, and some decent firepower. And remember, turn 1, Devastator Doctrine becomes AP -2 here for these assault cannons, so pretty good. And again, rerolling 1s to the captain, rerolling 1s to wound for the lieutenant if they are nearby as well. So you may see the Blood Angels packed quite wide, like a 12-inch sort of width. Central force pushing forwards initially, laying down some firepower, getting the most effective possible with the captain and lieutenant nearby, and then breaking off to the flanks perhaps later on. Maybe you might see that to some degree in games as well. But scouts are in. This gives you 5 troops choices now. There's so many options to go for, such difficult choices. I didn't put the Sanguinary Guard in, they might be something to bring in later on. The Death Company unit I had has been dropped as well. What I have managed to do though is I didn't have the points. Preferably would have taken Brother Kabulo, then if not Sanguinary Priest, just couldn't get the points to do it, but I had just enough to get a Sanguinary Novitiate, so he'll represent that. Sanguinary Novitiate is, I think it's 50. 60 points. So, the +1 to the wound roll, special roll's been stripped away, but thankfully you do keep the Narfesium, that's the key here. So you can restore wounds on biker and infantry models, D3, at the end of your movement phase. Yeah, so I've got a character, like the captain or lieutenant, or a Terminator or a Primaries who have taken damage, especially thinking of my characters, and the limited number of wounds that the captain has. There is someone on the table that can restore wounds, so that's very, very good. And then also, fantastic ability on a 4+, he can restore a slain model back to the board and from a unit. So my Terminators, for example, which you'll see I have them in the list, I've kept them. The ability to restore more of them back to the table, ones that have been slain, is fantastic. So, and it's it's another character, perhaps useful for holding on to objectives and so on. But the Sanguinary Novitiate is in, and you've got yourself a nice Blood Angels themed model. So Novitiate makes it in. So they're moving through, looking for the Assault Terminators. Here they are. So this squad, what do you think now? 2021. 8 years these have been fighting away on the channel. They have the battles that this unit has seen. The enemy characters and monsters and vehicles, the apocalypse games, the challenge games, the amount of battles that this unit has seen is incredible, quite a legacy. I just could not bring myself to drop them. I still really rate them. So I painted these up before Games Workshop released their really nice Assault Terminator set in plastic, which is a beautiful set. This is a standard Space Marine Assault Terminator set, but with the Forge World accessories here, like these shoulder pads, which are really nice. I'm not sure if you can still get them, but that's the resin Forge World shoulder pads on both sides. Just here, this guy's magnetized like so, and the shield arm is magnetized as well. The others are all fixed. Just from previous editions, you used to, with the Sergeant, you could take different loadouts, and sometimes it was a good idea, but I'm going for Storm Shield Thunderhammers across the board here with this 5-man unit. So 2 wounds at a time. I've heard maybe these are going to go up to 3 wounds for Terminators. We'll see what happens. Base number of attacks is 2, which is okay. What you're getting here is your 2 up armor save, your 3+ inv saves. You have a very solid, very solid, dependable unit. Sanguinary Novitiate to hang around with them, usually. Restoring wounds, resurrecting models just to add a bit more durability to them as well. Then their damage output So they've got that resilience to withstand damage coming through. Got 2 wounds each, 2 up armor save, 3+ invuln save. So often in games, they take a battering and able to withstand a lot of damage coming through, which is great, and need that durability. And they can kick out some damage in return against whatever target, anything that comes in contact with them. They'll happily fight against. So damage 3 with the Thunderhammers. There is the -1 to hit rolls, so 4+ to hit. Captain nearby granting roll 1s is useful, and then there is a stratagem to help them out. It's a strange thing because a lot of people don't rate assault terminators with Thunderhammers at the moment, but I still think from one edition to the next they're a solid choice. Fury of the First. Only one command point. Use your stratagem in any phase. Select one Blood Angel's Terminator unit from your army. To the end of that phase, resolve an attack made by a model on that unit. Add 1 to the hit roll. So you can get them back to 3+ to hit with them. So which is very, very useful indeed. So I can't see what the problem is with them. I think they're really, really good. Space Marines on the charge, extra attacks, 3 attacks each, 15, 16 attacks with them. And they'll, as I said, they'll happily fight against pretty much anything. So they can deep strike with them, which is one way to use them. Remember, there's that stratagem where if you arrive from deep strike, you get 3d6 charge, so that's okay. It's obviously not available on turn 1. Or you can, on foot, they're way too slow. A 5-inch move and walk around the table, it's very hard to try and get them exactly where they need to be. So you can go for the deep strike option with them. Or I've got 2 transport options for them here in this list, so 2 ways to move them around the board quite quickly as well. So I'll leave them where they are, and we'll bring in the last few units here. So what you're looking at is some tactical flexibility with supporting firepower with the Scouts and Razorbacks, bit of a gun line going on, and a solid one with the Intercessors. As I got some supporting HQ choices and ones that can fight well in close combat, and I've got a sort of a solid close combat unit here as well. So going on to, there's so many good options. I love the Intercessor Dragnol, another Blood Angels themed unit to go for. Assault Marines look great with the yellow helmets, look very, very cool. I have some of those, but I haven't put them in the list yet. So we're looking for, I've brought back the Land Raider, which again has been stored away for literally a couple of years. It's now back in action again. So it's got a big presence on the battlefield. Here it is. Again, painted this up maybe 6 years ago, something like that, and I've faithfully looked after it. Always kept it stored away, so there's no dust on this thing. And your classic Land Raider is a great unit. Plastic kit's fantastic. It really is nice. So there it is. If you like the look of the Blood Angels army, there is the Blood Angels painting tutorial, which is here on YouTube. I show you how to paint. It's a Terminator from the Space Hulk board game, but that whole process is used, the same process throughout the entire army. All the units use the same process, so you can follow that. And then over on the Plus channel, there is the in-depth paint tutorial, bigger project, and I show you how to paint up one of the Bow Predators from start to finish. And I cover things like chipping effect, weathering, transfers, painting names in ye old English lettering here as well. All those kind of things, details like that. Weathering around the base of the tracks, washers and so on, all covered in the in-depth painting tutorial, so it's available on the Plus channel as well. So there's the Land Raider. So we'll just tuck him in just here. Look at that bulky vehicle here. Toughness 8, really, really good. 16 wounds, loads of wounds to try and get through, and a 2+ armor save. It's a very solid unit, and a fair bit of effort for the opponent to try and get through this. And firepower wise, you got 4 las cannon shots of this. And again, able to move around the battlefield, no -1 to the hit rolls at all. I take the twin heavy bolter, as you see sculpted here on the model, and is pretty much it. Then you've got your transport capacity as well. So 10 Blood Angels infantry units, or 5 Terminators. So if he goes inside here, it's 5 Terminators, that's it. So there wouldn't be any room for the Sanguinary Novitiate. You'd have to hitch a lift somewhere else. You wouldn't be able to fit in with the Terminators, but I can put them inside there and have that as a... So, this combination here is one of the all-time classic combinations that goes back through multiple editions of 40k. Assault Terminator, Thunderhammer Terminators inside Land Raider is sort of one of the old-time combos. I still think that's quite viable. You're heading off towards an objective on a flank. That combo would fight by itself. Wouldn't need any help, I don't think. The Land Raider manoeuvring out, brilliant firepower available. Anyone comes too close, send out the Terminators, disembark 3, move out 5, and then charge in, and they can fight by themselves, no problem at all, and you can pick them up and manoeuvre them around. So that's a great combo that can operate pretty much by itself. So Land Raiders in, or I can just camp it out on the home objective, lay down firepower with the las cannons and heavy bolter, and then just sit there, and a little bit of damage coming through, but the opponent's busy trying to deal with other elements of your Blood Angels army. That Land Raider just does its job. Nice tough target sitting on the home objective. It's another option for it as well. So it's one last unit. Ever the one to go for controversial unit choices here. So I have kept one of the Stormraven gunships. So I was running 2, and it's pretty much every battle report got rebuked by people for for taking 2. I've taken 1, so I've half pleased some people on the channel. But the Stormraven gunships made it into the list. Maybe just you'll see it in a moment anyway. But there it is. It's a fine looking model. Here, it has its enemies and critics, I would say, be a better description. I'm going to keep one of them on the battlefield or in the list. I think it's going to perform a crucial role here. For sure, just put it back on its base. Like so. So, the downside to it is it's expensive in points, and the opponent usually targets it quite quickly and takes it out. But we'll see if that's the case. We'll see. 14 wounds though. There's a bit more wounds, a few more wounds than your average vehicle. 3 up save. This is a -1 to hit rolls if it's in flight mode. No minuses to the hit rolls here. Didn't have that anyway with Power of the Machine Spirit. It's going to stick with the same loadout. So twin multi-melter, twin laser or 2 laser cannon shots. It's 2 sets of hurricane bolters, and then the rockets on there as well. So blistering amount of firepower. What's made a big difference is when I'm able to keep the captain and lieutenant nearby, and therefore granting you reroll 1s to hit and to wound is massive for this thing, because a lot of this firepower is sort of one-shot weapons that really need to hit and to wound and to try and get that damage through. So that's proved exceptionally useful to have those nearby. So my HQ choices here, the lieutenant and the captain, they've got wings, they can sort of keep up, semi-keep up with the Stormraven gunship as it moves up the board. Even in flight mode, keeping that -1 to hit rolls, it's a 20-inch move minimum. And these are jumping 12, potentially advancing, so for a while they can keep up and stay within that 6-inch bubble to grant those bonuses. So transport capacity is 12 on this one, so I can go for the Terminators plus characters in there as well, so Novitiate could hang around with them inside the Stormraven gunship. It is a bit quicker, it can deliver them to the further corners of the battlefield a bit easier, or it can go on patrol and hang around my line, and if the opponent gets too close to some nasty units, I can send in the Terminators, disembark them from the transport and send them in. Notice in the later stages of the game, if I can keep the Stormraven gunship alive, it can manoeuvre quickly across the battlefield and lay down some firepower to try and mop up enemy resistance, soften up targets as other Blood Angels units try to secure the battlefield. So the Stormraven gunship, I think, has a great use for sure if I can keep it alive. So, and the Stormraven gunship, I see it as quite a Blood Angels themed unit. I know there's different Space Marine chapters can take them, but this sort of mobile, firepower, aggressive type unit, the transport capacity, put nasty units aside, it does match the Blood Angels very, very well indeed. It's another bulky vehicle to add to this army, so there's quite a good spread going on. I've got support vehicles, heavy vehicles, there's a flyer, I've got different types of infantry going on here, all the way from Scout all the way up to Assault, Terminator and Primaries Marines, and then some HQs as well. So quite happy with this sort of a good representation of the collection as well here for this list. But we'll zoom out now. I'm going to rearrange the army, zoom out, and you'll be able to see the entire footprint of this force. Alright, so that's the army here. It's been a struggle to get the Storm Raven gunship in the picture, but there he is. It's granting 2 options to the Terminators. Land Raider just here as well. And look at the las cannon shots. 2, 4, 6 las cannon shots available. You've got the 2 multi shots, the rockets as well. So some decent firepower available. And then some decent sort of Dakar. Twin heavy bolter here, 2 sets of hurricane bolters. Now all of the extra shots coming through as well from the 2 Razorbacks. Also, Intercessors able to provide some decent firepower support as well. So structure of the army, got the HQ choices, all granting some buffs and bonuses and benefits here for the entire army. And then a couple of them here can pack a mean punch in close combat as well. Solid close combat unit with the Terminators, can sort of take on anything, whatever the kind of target needs to be attacked. Little Novitiate here just to help out, and then the Scouts. This new combination going on here with Scouts working together with Razorbacks, and let's work on the flanks, I reckon, mostly in games, to manoeuvre around and try and control objectives whilst the main Blood Angels force pushes forwards and then launches precise assaults at the right point at the right time. So I'm quite happy with this Blood Angels force. It's a nice variety of units, good mixture. Good representation of the different units that Blood Angels have, some unique units being added in. But leave your own comments and suggestions, make your own predictions, how well you think this list will do. Is it better than the previous list? Will it adapt okay to 9th edition? Blood Angels so far, for Season 8 battle reports, have actually been doing very well, so hopefully that will continue. But really it's only going to be actual games and battles that take place where we'll see if Blood Angels can prevail or not. We'll see what happens, but that's Blood Angels updated here, 2,000 points for 9th edition. Check out the painting tutorials that are available here on YouTube and over on the Plus channel if you want to copy the painting style that I've done for these as well. But that's the video. Keep a lookout for more complete army videos coming in the future. I do hope to make a top 5 unit video as well for the Blood Angels, just to give you some further help when trying to choose which units to add into your own Blood Angels force. Thanks for watching and tune in next time.